price of petrol rise from over 500 naira to 670 and even more in some parts of the country. We look at how this is impacted on the lives and livelihood of Nigerians. And the NNPCL Limited has been explaining the reason of the price change. We'll find out tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimalo in Abuja. Let's begin tonight with the story coming from the presidential villa, where the President Bola Tinubu has received the former President Goodluck Jonathan at the presidential villa. President Jonathan, who doubles as the head of the ECOWAS mediation team to Mali, noted that the visit was to discuss issues pertaining to Africa and the West Africa sub-region. Also today, the President met with the governors of Imo. That's Senator Hope Uzodinma, governor of Ogun State, Dakwa Abiodun, and that of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdul Razak, at the villa today. Our attention is going to be on the change of the price of petrol. And for the last few weeks, Nigerians have been discussing the impact and implication of the removal of fuel subsidy. So, I mean, as much we were discussing the palliatives and the plight of Nigerians. Nigerians woke up today to the change in price. What does this mean? There is over 100 naira increase on the price. Its price is different from several parts of the country. I'll be giving you understanding of what is wherever. But if wherever you may be in Nigeria today, tweet at me. Let me know how much you bought petrol today if you're able to buy. How much is it selling at the NNPCL filling station, at any other filling station as that? Let me know your views. Let me know what you're going through. Perhaps form part of our conversation tonight. Tweet me at Sean Walking and let us know what exactly is going on. Because tonight, we'll be getting reactions and we'll be discussing in details the implications of this. Let's check out some of the political roundup stories, and when we return, we dig deep into this matter.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, has reiterated the commitment of the President Tinubu-led administration to improve the welfare of Nigerians, even as he admits that no government is infallible. The SGF, while playing host to a delegation from the North Central People's Forum, NCPF, led by Sadaunan Plateau, Senator Jeremiah Hussaini in Abuja, listed the bold steps taken by President Tinubu so far, which has impacted the national economy and sent positive signals to policymakers, local and international, that the government means business. Senator Akume, however, appeals to Nigerians to bear the pains of the removal of subsidy on petrol and its negative impact on cost of living, promising that after the pains, there'll be significant improvements in living standards generally.
The economic reforms beginning with the CBN should be commended by all.
The First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has extolled the virtues of former First Lady Miriam Babangida in the advancement of the rights and well-being of Nigerian women through her pet project, the Better Life for Rural Women program. Mrs. Tinubu made the remarks at an event to officially rename the National Women's Development Center the Miriam Babangida National Center for Women Development, and the induction of the first set of women achievers into the Nigerian Women Hall of Fame.
This center being renamed today has reinforced my belief in the need for us as a people to celebrate the contributions of the matriarchs of our land.
Justice Obiora Egwatu of the Federal High Court in Abuja has declined to disqualify the candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for the upcoming governorship election in Kogi State, Mr. Ahmed Ododo. Delivering justice, Justice Egwatu dismissed the suit that was brought before it by a governorship aspirant of the party, Mr. Abubakar Chimugu. Mr. Usman Ododo had emerged as winner of a primary election the APC conducted in the state on April the 14th. However, dissatisfied with the outcome of the primary poll, the plaintiff approached the court alleging that the APC candidate did not validly resign his employment with the Kogi State Public Service at least 30 days before he participated in the election. In the judgment, Justice Egwato held that there was evidence before the court that Ododo validly resigned from office before he participated in the primary election. The European Union says its relationship with Nigeria remains sacrosanct despite the mixed reactions to the EU Election Observer report on the 2023 elections. The EU ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Samuela Isopi, said this at a press briefing on Monday. Although the conference was organized to announce scholarships granted to 135 Nigerians under the Erasmus Plus study program, Ms. Isopi used the opportunity to point out that the EU will continue to maintain a mutually beneficial relationship with the largest democracy in Africa. A civil society organization under the aegis of Civil Liberties Organization is asking President Bola Tinubu not to appoint some past leaders with questionable characters into his administration. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the executive director of the organization, Mr. Igo Akerega, says it's been observed that many of the immediate past governors in the country are lobbying to be appointed to diverse ministerial positions. They, however, advised President Tinubu to appoint better hands as ministers, such as technocrats and honest Nigerians willing to leave good legacies.
Collectively, Nigerians say no to blood-sucking groups of vampires who have left our wealthy country in ruins and transformed it into a vast killing field of innocent citizens.
Thank you so much indeed. And those are your political roundup stories. Well, many Nigerians have been struggling to adjust to the new life that the hike in the price of petrol has brought to them. Since May 29, that President Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidy. Today, Nigerians woke up to yet another blow, another hike in the price of the commodity. With the announcement of the first day of the president's assumption of office, the pump price of a litre of petrol rose from 184 naira to 500 naira and above. About 2 months later, the price jumped from over 500 naira to about 617, eliciting anger and criticism from economically standard citizens of the country. You can see what the price increase have been over the year, in the last few months, and you can see the rate at which things have gone just in the last few months. But now, fuel queues have immediately resurfaced in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and other cities across the country with vehicle owners engaging in panic buying at a new rate of over 617 naira per litre, fearing that the price might go up again. Let me give you an understanding of the price as it looks in some part of the country. This is what we know. Okay, these are some of the pictures from the different states of the country. But take a look at the prices and the differences in some part of the country. So in Abuja, it's been sort of about 617 naira. In Kaduna at about 620, Kano 620, Jigawa 620, Katsina 620 per litre, Yobe 627. Well, already I'm getting some messages from Nigerians. So I told you, let us know what you're going through as of now. I'm seeing a lot of messages. Someone saying, Madweke Patrick said, PMS in Onitsha, Anambra State, today sold at 617 naira. Croman says it's sold at 617 naira per litre. In Plateau, Alabi Onimisi says it's sold at Oando 580, while Emadeb station sold at 575. Eyare said he bought it at Shema filling station this evening at 620 naira per litre. And Deji Oladipo says he bought it 617 naira per litre. In Guarimpa, Adesanya said he bought it at 620 naira per litre. At Rano Mararaba in Abuja, Olushola Stanley says he bought it at 620 naira per litre. In Kaduna, in Zaria precisely, Moses Ogbe says he bought it at 617 naira per litre. I'm seeing a whole lot of your messages. Keep them coming. We might be able to get some of your comments and get our guests tonight on the program to weigh in on them. But the NNPCL is already explaining the reason for the price adjustment or the increase in price. Take a listen to the Group MD of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Melekiari?
I don't have the details at this moment. You know, we have marketing wing of our company. They adjust prices depending on the market realities, and this is really what is happening. This is the meaning of making sure that the market regulates itself, so that prices will go up, and sometimes they will come down also. And this is really what we are seeing. In reality, this is how the market works. There is no supply issue completely. It is not a supply. When you go to the market, you buy the product, you come to the market and sell it at its ongoing prevailing market price. Nothing to do with supply. We don't have supply issues. There are robust supply. We have over 32 days of supply in country. That's not a problem. What I know is that the market forces will regulate the market. Prices will go down sometimes. Sometimes it will go up, but there will be stability of supply. And I'm also assuring Nigerians that this is the best way to go forward, so that we can adjust prices when market goes. I don't have the details this moment, but I know that our marketing wing acts just like every other company in this business. I know that a number of companies have imported petroleum products today, PMS. So many of them are online. I'm sure my colleague will confirm this. So market forces have started to play. People have started having confidence in the market, and the private sector people are now importing products. But there's no way they can recover their costs if they cannot take market reflective costs.
All right, there. Melekiari, the group managing director of the NNPC Limited. Let's get some reactions. Of course, Labour is already reacting to these, and tonight we'll be getting insight. I'm being joined by the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, who joins us virtually, Mr. Joe Ajaero. Thank you so much, Mr. Joe, for joining us tonight. And I have with me here in our Abuja studio a former chairman of the Senate Committee on Upstream, Senator Albert Bassi. Thank you so much, distinguished, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I say, President, let's begin the conversation with you, and let's get the reaction of Labour. You are, as an organization, one of those who reacted immediately when the price went from about 185 to over 500. But this is a different scenario entirely. Now it does look like the independent marketers can now bring the product into the country. It has broken the monopoly of NNPC bringing it. Well, market forces, market scenario playing out, but it doesn't look like it's to the benefit of Nigerians. We've been warned that market forces will determine the price, but again, it's at the detriment of the pocket of the average citizen of Nigeria. As a leader of the Labour, what is the official reaction of NLC?
Well, I think Nigerians are being deceived. That's the official reaction. Because in the first instance, if you are saying that the independent marketers are now bringing the product into the market, into Nigeria, and Nigerians will want to know how many of them, and for us to see the list of those who are importing the product into Nigeria, and to find out the role of NNPC in the current dispensation. NNPC cannot import and say it is imported by independent marketers. That is not true. Two, if governments withdrew subsidy on petroleum products, and suddenly we are about discussing the aftermath of it, and while we are about even to start committee meetings, another price is increased. Now you ask yourself, why will government go to court to seek injunction? Why will government take some other measures if it is not their business? The matter is clear that it's like we have entered a ring where Nigerians are being punished unnecessarily and where lies are coming up everywhere. If you have a single market where everybody must change dollar at 800, at 8 years per dollar, now you remove the market where people were changing money at 400 and 450 to import. It then means the very moment that dollar value increases to even 900 to 1,000, you tell us that you imported it at the current value, despite the fact that the products now are not the ones that were imported under $1 to 800 naira, range. So I think clearly the government is toying with Nigerians, and it's like a situation whereby they are telling us, what can you do? It's a reign of impunity that is coming up everywhere. It's not all about, it's not economics. What is happening there is not economics. It's not about market force, And if you are now approving almost 70 billion to subsidize those in National Assembly, probably to buy bulletproof vehicles for them and all that. And you are equally increasing, the pump price of petroleum products. And you say you are removing subsidy. Removal of subsidy, is it on the one that affects the poor alone? I think it is a problem that they are creating that will be between the poor and the rich, because they are taking away all that the poor are trying to benefit from, and they're giving it to the rich. In the battle that will ensure, I think they need to buy more bulletproof vehicles for the rich to continue to move around, because when people cannot get food to eat, they will run to the street. And it's all about what Labour says about it. The problem now is not a Labour problem. The problem is everywhere, and I think they are prepared for it.
So if you look at this, and tonight we're concerned so very much about the plight of the poor, who are in the majority in this country. Based on the available statistics, they are the ones that are going to be bearing the brunt. And how many people do even have vehicles in this country anyways, compared to those who do not have? And the impact on transportation, commodities, and all what have you. We thought that Labour was having a conversation with the federal government, and that, look, these things will come in such a way that the average person who doesn't have to weep and gnash his teeth and be in anguish and perpetual suffering over the consequences of the actions of government. Now, the question is that, did you see this coming? Do you accept the explanation of the NNPC?
Well, the NNPC have not provided any explanation. You can see that the group managing director was talking of finding out from their marketing department. I don't think they have provided any explanation. And they have no business, again, from what he's saying, if the importation of product is no longer within their control. If you ask whether I invested this coming, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that government thought they had been outsmarted by what Nigerians felt was not a good negotiation with Labour. But within us, we got the best bargain that could have salvaged the suffering of Nigerians when we opted for the CNG agreement. The CNG agreement we got and we signed without reducing the price of petroleum products, which was what the expectation of Nigeria was, such that would have given us a product that is an alternative that will sell at probably less than 100 naira per litre. And if that one has started operation today, I think government would have reviewed their folly in increasing the pump price of petroleum product. Now, while we are trying to consummate on that, they now came out again for an assault, a further assault on Labour and citizens of Nigeria. I think Nigerians should see it beyond, just prices of PMS, and see that government is on daily basis attacking Nigerians. Government is on daily basis confronting Nigerians, trying to make Nigerians
All right. I think for some reasons, your device there is muted here.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Why government is doing this? Why government is going to provocation and attack on Nigerians? It's something that is not clear to the Nigerian labor movement. And I think we need to observe this. Find out why within 2 months, government has on the issue of petroleum products, PMS, government has attacked workers. On the issue of threat to increase electricity tariff, government has attacked Nigerian students on the threat to introduce school fees and all. So there must be something that is behind this. So I think Nigerians should look at it while we're on standby, waiting for this action. Because if whether there will be any clash, yes, or how and when it will start, Nigerians should determine in the next few days.
For anyone who has been following, we'll say on one hand, subsidy is a devil in the mix. And for a long time, it should have gone. But the political will to be able to do that without incurring the wrath of the average Nigerian as being a problem. Now, this has happened, and it's certain that market forces would take preeminence. But the question is, what has changed in the last 2 months that have determined the cost, the change in price? Before you, who is speaking with the federal government on behalf of Labour and the Nigerian people, do you feel a sense of failure on your own part that this is happening and the Nigerian people seems helpless?
Well, how do you start assessing failure? Failure in the sense that Labour should take the failure of government, failure to provide, a livelihood, better livelihood to Nigerians. How is it on the part of Labour?
Because, Mr. Ajaero, the reason why I asked that question, it does look, in the whole scheme of things, for a lot of Nigerians who are watching, they thought that Mr. Ajaero and his colleagues in Labour were the voices of the Nigerian people. And there seems to be a gully between the government and the governed and the Nigerian people. And you were supposed to bridge that gap. But I'm asking you as a personal question, because as a leader of Labour, discussing with government, and you woke up, I'm not sure, you got a call to say there will be a change in the price. Did this come to you as a shock or an embarrassment of some sort, that you tried your effort to make sure that government stand down on the increase of the price and it failed? That is the position of my question.
The present government you are seeing cannot call me to say they want to increase petroleum product. It is a government that is dictatorial. It's a government that acts on its own. It's a government that takes an action. What is my responsibility is the reaction of Nigerians when we weigh all the options available to us. It's a government that it's a government that prefers to get a court injunction. It's a government that prepares to do some other undercurrent things that threaten you. So it's not a government that you say will call you to say they want to increase fuel price. But one clear thing about it is that if they call me, they will know that I will say no. So that one is clear. And it is not in our character as Labour to be on bed with government, especially when their actions and pronouncements are anti-people. So to ask me whether, they called me, whether I should be working with them on this, I can't work with them as far as it has to do with deceiving Nigerians, punishing Nigerians. We will have to maintain our various positions, and the Nigerians are in a better position to judge.
What is Labour going to do now? Because, Mr. Ajaero, the truth is, there is a clause in the statement of the NNPCL that the markets will determine the price going forward. It might go up. That means we might get as higher than the price that we're finding it today, and it might go lower, maybe lesser than 500 naira that it was selling yesterday. But should it go up, what will Labour do? Or what will Labour do now?
We are not involved in that arithmetic of going up and down. When we realize the position of government and what they have done over the years, that it has been a situation whereby when they increase, Labour attacks them, they reduce maybe 50 naira. And then the next time they're going to increase, they increase with about 300 naira. This present NLC decided to look at alternative. And that was what led to the CNG agreement, which I told you about. That if we have the CNG agreement, that's my only regret today, that if we have the CNG agreement, already in place, as the independent marketers, petroleum marketers have volunteered their stations for conversion. If we had finished conversion of vehicles to use PMS, which I'm saying will cost less than 100 naira or thereabout, I will not bother if they are selling PMS for 3,000 a litre. It is now left from Nigerians who have options to decide whether to buy the option of CNG at 100 naira or to go and buy PMS at 800 or 1,000. That's the only regret I have. And that's what we got. That was what NLC got from that negotiation. We are not interested in the 500 they were talking, we didn't reduce it. But we had an option. We had a CNG, and gas deposit in Nigeria that will last you for the next 500 years. Now, why have they not started this conversion? Even when organizations like the African Development Bank are willing to bring funds for us to convert our vehicles to CNG. So if it is not to punish Nigerians, we could have started that option, and tried our 8 weeks agreement to see whether anything possible, anything better will happen. But that has not happened. and they went into increase. Before now, if you conclude the CNG agreement, the issue of increasing it to 5,000, 10,000 will not matter to every Nigerian.
All right. Mr. Jerry, just give me a moment. Let me turn to Senator Albert Bassi, because I'm still going to, I want to explain to us, because the Labour in the statement today saying you have rejected the palliative measure that the federal government is proposing to the National Assembly. I'd like to find out on what basis and what you are proposing in the alternative, but just give me a moment. I'll come back to you in a moment. Senator Albert, give us an understanding. There is the Petroleum Industry Act, which is supposed to be a citizen law that's supposed to help the people, not impoverish them. But what we are having today is that there are more poor Nigerians than they were 2 months ago.
Well, I think, Sheil, thanks for actually having me, and then our dear viewers and great Nigerians. My brother, the president of the NLC, is also on stage with us. For me, I must first of all encourage Nigerians and thank them for their patience, the understanding they have shown the current administration of President Bola Tinubu. I must say that what is at display today, Sheil, it's we must also commend the president for the courage, the conviction, and the commitment. And I think what is required now is time. And you see, there are various stages of policy. You formulate a policy. There is time for you to review the policy to ascertain the impact and whether that policy meets the objective for which it was formulated. And when you also talk about policy, there are certain assumptions that guides it. I was privileged to be a major player in the making of the current petroleum industry bill, which actually gave light to the current NNPCL Limited. And I must say that something is very certain. We cannot say that the policy of deregulating 100% of the petroleum industry has failed. No. This government is just about six weeks old. And when you allow, as an economist, because I'm a graduate economist, when you allow the interplay of market forces in the determination of price, you allow it 100%. And we had listened to the MD of NNPCL Limited. He says it is about the market forces.
So it's out of the government's hands.
It's out of the government's hands.
It's in the hands of the private sector,
what the government,
the international market, and how this plays out.
Because it's an international product. It is priced on Platts. So what we need to do is to make sure that we fast track the workings, the refining of this product locally. Because when you refine it locally, there's certain element of that market forces, the element of price determination that can be actually be excluded, like the issue of the transportation cost, the bridging cost, the bunkering cost, and other related costs. This would have forced down the price of the product. So I believe that we are not there yet, but we have left where we used to be. And to get to where we ought to go to in line with the vision of Mr. President, we need to give the president time, and I must commend Labour for it.
How long? How much time?
We must commend Labour.
It's over 2 months
for you
now.
To see, Sheil, please. Yeah. For you to see the manifestation of this policy, it needs minimum of 6 months. So what government needs to do now is, I'm very happy that it's coming with his cabinet, because we need to do more advocacy. We need to tie Nigerians and let them have the buy-in into this policy of government. I knew that certainly we'll get to this point, Sheil.
Of this suffering.
I knew we'll get to it, because there is no policy you do on the basis of emotions and sentiments that takes you to where you ought to be. I knew, because we cannot be borrowing to fund consumption. It's quite unfortunate that all our refineries got broken down. It's quite unfortunate that we had to depend 100% on imported products. And when you subject yourself to importation, you must also subject yourself to the workings of the global market. So I think, for me, one thing that we have attained, Sheil, is that on the basis of, I was engaging the MD of NNPCL Limited. I said, how has it been in terms of daily consumption? He said, we have cut down consumption by almost about 35%, which means that 35% of a product that was that NNPC was pumping
Releasing,
out was going into the other market, was going into
and the president also said
smuggling.
We cannot be a Father Christmas. You know, giving out Chad, Niger, and other neighboring countries.
So for me, the president has done well. And if the president had not taken this bold step on his first day in office, I'm not sure he would have done it today. But there are a lot of sentiments.
The question is that some of the people in the international community is giving a thumbs up to the president. Some locally has given thumbs up to the president. But the question is that were there proper mechanisms to cushion the effect of that policy? Because when you make a policy as a government, you look at the dovetailing effect on the average person. And that is what is being experienced right now.
Sure. Nigerians have lost faith in governments, past government, not the present government, because for you to have the buy-in of Nigerians, they must also have the conviction that you mean well for them. So what President Bola Tinubu has done is that Nigeria, please, I am sorry. I know the burden I know the hurt, I know the pain that you're going to go through. I'll give you an instance, Shehu. When President Obasanjo came up with a cellular network, MTNs and AATLs of those days, a telephone was costing almost about 100,000 because it was seen as the privilege of the rich. But today, your mother in the village can have access to a telephone, even 2 lines, depending on the network that is working in certain areas. Today, you have Nigerians from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. having free calls on network because competition breeds efficiency. Efficiency leads to a fall in price. And I ask myself a very simple question, is the man riding Okada, Keke, Napep, and local taxis be buying the same fuel like yours? So these are areas that government must begin to look into in terms of alleviating the sufferings of these Nigerians.
You see, not putting the horse before the cart.
No, I believe, sure, we have no right in putting...
I'm not sure that the Nigerians that are watching tonight are unreasonable. I mean, they are reasonable people.
I commend them totally.
Fantastic people.
I'm telling you.
Who understand what is good from what is bad.
Yes.
Who knows their left from their right. But the question is that you can't subject people to people who are already living in poverty is horrible enough that they are living in abject poverty. Now subjecting them to more pain in the midst of this poverty. You need to go to the interiors of this country to know how poor and the sufferings of Nigerians. And that is a bone of the contention here.
So I believe that government needs time. But government, yes, you need time, but you must show...
But government doesn't have the time.
You must show...
They need time, but they don't have the time because people's lives are on the line.
Shell, please, government must take certain drastic actions. And that's where you have National Assembly. That's where you have the executive. So these two structures must come together because whatever government must do must be backed up by National Assembly. A lot still needs to be done. But I can tell you, we have taken the best option for this country. It's just a matter of time that the pain that we are going through today will be alleviated. And I'm very certain that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu means well for the country. To even sum up courage, conviction, and commitment, say, let this devil go. Because who was enjoying the subsidies, Joe? Who was enjoying the subsidies?
Who are the people?
Who were the people enjoying the subsidies? You tell me.
No, you are, you are one of those who are oversighting.
The subsidy was not being enjoyed by ordinary Nigerians. I come from Akwa Ibom. I've never bought fuel in official price. Today in Akwa Ibom is about 530.
So who are these people who are ripping Nigerians off?
That's why President Bola said, that's why the president has said, listen, I am for Nigerians. I cannot be subsidizing for Cameroon, for Benin Republic, for Niger. I cannot do that. I'm a president of Nigeria. I love this country. I want the best for my people.
All right, let's take a breather. NLC president, when we come back from this break, I'd like to know the reason for the rejection of the NLC, of the president's, the federal government's proposal for the palliative measures. We'll come back from this break and we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. I've been asking for your response and your own experience wherever you may be in the country. And I'm seeing a whole lot of, from Bauchi to Gombe to Nasarawa, Ondo, and every part of the country. A lot of conversations are on Twitter, and some of you are tweeting with me, like Daniel Audu, who says that the product, Petrol, sold at 630 Naira today in Yola. And Stephen Akinwusi says that at Dunamis Filling Station, Valentino, Ondo City, at 617 Naira. Then at 517 Naira, Adekwetu Filling Station, 517 Naira per liter in same Ondo City. And we have other people like Alim Gideon Masamari, who is in Gombe Town, who says that he's selling at about 850 Naira per liter. We're getting a whole lot of your comments. Those of you who are reacting. Senator Albert Bassi, a former chairman of Senate Committee on Upstream, has been speaking with us, as well as the NSC President, Mr. Joe Ajero. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
NSC President, give us an understanding from the statement coming out of Labour today. The title is "The Proposed Palliative Cash Transfers Robs the Poor and Pays the Rich. We reject it." You made mention of the breakdown of how some of this money you criticize, the ones going to the National Assembly, the ones going to the judiciary. You broke it down to how many courts do we have, how many judges do we have. You queried how they will be getting that kind of amount. What is the basis of NLC's criticism of these measure by the government? And if you have, what is the alternative?
Well, before I go on, let me put a caveat to the last speaker, his statement on the issue of there's no subsidy to the ordinary Nigerian. Prior to now, before this time around, that cliche has been gaining momentum. Until this last, removal of subsidy, we now realize that without subsidy, we will now be paying 600 from 185. Every Nigerian now, even an illiterate Nigerian, knows that there is a difference of 400 Naira they are getting from a liter, and it's highly subsidized. Before now, I would have agreed with him that subsidy is not getting to Nigeria, but the very moment subsidy was removed, and there was over 400 Naira increase on top of what we're doing, over 200 Naira increase. We now believe. I don't want anybody to say that again, because Nigerians know better what was happening when there was subsidy and what is happening now without subsidy. Now, on the issue of why we said we reject the 8,000 whatever they are coming up with, the first two meetings we had, they came up with 5,000, and they were talking about 50 million Nigerians. And we said no. From all indices, reports show that over 133 million Nigerians are poor, poorest of the poor. And then you can't think of even 50 million. And 10,000, 5,000 you are proposing is not acceptable given the level of poverty in the country. Besides, we need to do proper analysis to find out who are these people, because you see a situation under the COVID-19 era that people were being paid, and when we ask questions, which account number did you pay this money to? Who are the people you paid this money to? Nobody gave us any information. Now this government is going into that again. The committee set up have not sat down to look at the people who are to benefit from this, the indices, how they are going to be paid, the amount, the number of Nigerians that will benefit. Only for government from nowhere came up with 8,000, came up with 12 million Nigerians. The 12 million Nigerians that are poor, is that number from Kano or is it the one from Lagos? Where are they getting this statistic from? You can see that these guys are not ready, they are not conscious in doing a proper work that will address the poor in this country. So to the NLC, and as far as we have not had any agreement on any of this, I think the government is trying to follow the trajectory of take it or leave it, and that is not what happens in the democracy.
I imagine, so I was asking, you say you are rejecting it. Are you rejecting the entire package of the palliative proposal from the federal government?
But the 8,000 is rejected, the 12 million Nigerians rejected, the statistics, how they got the people, and who are the people, is rejected. You have to sit down and find out the people and the parameter for the selection of the people. You have to select the amount, that because that 8,000 is an Uber for a day to move you from one direction to the other. You have to equally look at how many Nigerians are the poorest of the poor. The Nigerians that you capture under the poorest of the poor can be less than 50 million or 100 million. So all these indices, we have to look at them. And if you don't do that, you are just, doing a rigmarole. By the way, it is not based on any work. It is not based on any agreement. It's not based on social dialogue between labor and government.
What would be your own suggestions or alternative if you're rejecting the measures that the federal government has put forward?
There is a committee in place between government and labor to work out the modalities. Look at the number of Nigerians that will be affected. Look at the amount. Look at the template, and who are these Nigerians, identify them. You can't set up this committee and go back to be doing a different thing. It's not a question of my own position. It's a consensus that was reached before these committees were formed. So why are you jettisoning the committee? That's the question.
I understand that Nigeria will be saving several trillions of naira in the removal, and we understand, we were told that about 400 billion was saved in the first 4 weeks after the removal. If my mathematics work right, I don't trust my own mathematics, but if it worked right, we should have saved about 800 billion. Do you have an idea where these monies are?
Sure, we should ask Mr. President or his Minister of Finance or Minister of Finance. So I don't have an idea. So if they have saved such amount of money, why are they hurriedly trying to impose another amount, another price regime on the people?
The reason why I'm asking this question, Mr. Ajaero, they've gone to the federal government, went to the National Assembly asking for 500 billion naira.
Yes.
But so if we save 400 billion in first 4 weeks, we save nearly the amount that they would have gone to the federal government, to the National Assembly to ask for. And all this furore about how the money is going to be shared would have been a nullity. And if we save 400 billion in 4 weeks, we would have saved 800 billion in 8 weeks. That is my thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Your thinking is not far from mine. The same government that went to collect about 800 million, dollars from World Bank, for this kind of payment before President Buhari left. Now, which money are they asking from the National Assembly now? Is it the one saved? Is it that same $800 million? Now, if you calculate the value of that $800 million, you discover that it is over 500 billion already. Now, yet you are asking for another 400 billion for payment of palliatives or whatever. There's something that is not adding up. I think they should come up positively to tell us what is happening. Is it that money from the World Bank that they are using for this palliative, or is it a fresh money that they are demanding from the National Assembly? So one needs to get this clear.
Mr. Ajaero, it does look, for some of those who are responding to the tweets here, they are challenging you and Labour because I think they have their hopes in you. At While Exits on Twitter, it says, kindly explain what the use of the current NLC we have, because we know that they have been bought over by successive government, and there seems to be a lot of hopes in your organization. What can you tell this kind of person tonight?
Well, the person is a human being. Let him come out, let us salvage Nigeria. The NLC people are not people that wear bulletproof on the head. The NLC is made up of barely 4 million Nigerians. He can't stay in his house and ask for salvation. Who provide the leadership?
What will the NLC be doing? What is going to be the form of your reaction to what has happened today?
We'll meet. The NLC is an organization. We'll meet to take a decision and how best to address it.
So with me, Mr. Ajaero, let me come back to Senator. Senator, where do we go from here? A whole lot of issues. I asked the NLC president about the money that are being saved. Is there any hope Because you know what some people are saying here? In fact, it's friendly. They call it renewed shege. And people are saying, well, the renewed hope of President Tinubu, they are referring to, I mean, these are probably his critics and some opposition. But then the fact remains that if this kind of suffering goes on, you will get this kind of reaction.
Well, I think, Sean, let me just add, I think government needs to do more of informing and advocacy, informing the people. The issue of savings, you might not really have the money because government will already have borrowed to fund the subsidy to the tune of 400 billion. Because what is subsidy is the difference between the landing cost of petrol and the selling at the pump price. So if for example, at a liter price of 620 average across the country today, compared to what it was before the subsidy removal, it therefore means that difference would have been subsidized by government. And the higher your exchange rate, the higher the cost of the product, the higher the landing fees and all that, the higher the pump price of petrol. So I believe that we should not be asking government where are the savings, because ordinarily these monies that should have been used to bridge for the subsidy should have been borrowed. That's why the NNPC is saying the federation is indebted to them to the tune of so amount of money, because those monies they believe were money they use in subsidizing the product. So I believe that what government requires to do now is sincerity, which I believe they have right now. They are committed, which I believe they have right now. They are courageous to say, let this monster go. So what government needs to do right now is to get the people more informed, even on a daily basis. And I must commend the NLC for their stance. But I must also say that it is better to judge than to war for the benefits of this country. Because like they say, where two elephants fight, where one elephant is the NLC, and me, because I'm with the NLC, and one elephant is the government. Where we both fight, it is the ordinary Nigerians that will suffer.
Is there any room for war or Georgia now? Because the federal government is in court and is held down the labor from taking any action.
I believe that like the president of NLC said, they have a joint committee. I believe that this committee needs to do a more extensive work in terms of constructively consulting the people, consulting the various stakeholders to have the buy-in. So all that we need is the buy-in.
This is how I see it.
Yes.
And don't judge me if I'm a bit graphic in my, and I think if I look at the reactions of a lot of people, I see the situation as of some Nigerians at the moment as those who are in the intensive care unit of a hospital needing a medical help urgently. And those who have also argued that palliative is a medical term. It's not an economic term. But I see the situation of many Nigerians today who cannot even boast of what to eat tonight, not to talk of what to eat tomorrow. We are asking them to be patient. These are the people that we need a medical attention, economically speaking, immediately. Being patient will not solve their problem. What do you think the government needs to do? A state of emergency on their situation, or what action do the president or the government of the day be taking immediately? Because their situation cannot wait till tomorrow.
Well, I think, for me, it's quite unfortunate that Nigeria is a federation. The president, I believe, in my opinion, must call the National Economic Council, which has to do with the subnational governments, the state government and the local government. Because every action taken by Mr. President must equally be interpreted by the state government and the local government for it to have the kind of effect that Nigerians have been yearning for. So I see no reason why there cannot be the National Economic Council coming together to say this is a crisis in our hands. We all appreciate the fact that we have built a consensus that subsidy must go. These are the initial shocks in the system. And let me also tell you something. It is quite shocking because it is not a system that we have been used to as a country. In just less than 6 weeks, and we are crying foul. I believe that in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months, when things start changing, after this pain will come the gain of celebrations. That Nigerians, our refinery will start working. If I have money, I can afford to go and bring in petrol and equally come and sell. That competition will bring down the price. And that efficiency will drive down price to the barest minimum. And like I always say, we all must share in this pain and this burden for things to work out well for this country. We have labored, we have suffered for a few Nigerians for too long.
NLC President, what's your final thought tonight?
Well, there's a lot of misconception here. They will tell you the number, how they have reduced the number that is going to Cameroon and Niger. And they won't tell you that the number of vehicles have reduced from the road. They won't tell you that somebody that was buying 50 liters doesn't have money to buy 20 liters today, on and on. Like he's telling you to have patience. People that are dead, will no longer need to have patience. What is important is that any government that is not sensitive to the plight of Nigerians, is not there for the purpose of service. They are only interested in capital, in balancing their account. If you watch all the analysis that was coming up here, is a question of tomorrow. How can you talk of crude produced in Nigeria being an international product? Who internationalized it from a product we're having here? It's like telling us that Gary is an international product. What is the competition we're taking of Gary if Nigerians cannot process it here?
NLC President, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. And Senator Albert Passy, thank you so much indeed for your time. A lot of Nigerians were enraged when they were talking about the kind of amount that may go to some sectors like the National Assembly. And they're also looking at the fact that those who are in government need to also redress. And they must also show example that this nation, we cannot be spending money as though we are not in pains. The nation is in pains. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Bye-bye.